Bwera bali ku Uganda Eyenkya mbaniriza nnyo nze muzzukulu wa Gamuga Moses Wamala. Olwayo tugenda kwogera ku nsonga zino nkulu nnyo ffenna nzikiriza twalabye akatambi kano akasaasaanidde emikutu emigattabantu. Yes, ku X, Facebook, TikTok n'emikutu gyonna oba giyite gya social media. Yes, nzikiriza ffenna twabulabye. We've been all treated to these images that have been making rounds. Kale, mbaniriza nnyo nze muzzukulu wa Gamuga Moses Wamala, njagala tukube torch mu nsonga zino biki zitegeeza ki we tuli mu kaseera kano. Tubiwe omwaganya tulabe kye tusobola okubeera nga tubaako okwogera n'okugatta. Eyakatweyungako ng'oli mupya wano ku Uganda Eyenkya nga tosubscribinganga nkusaba ogende mu maaso subscribinge, ate era ogaba n'obubaka buno osobola okugabana n'emikwano gyo n'abantu ab'enjawulo mu WhatsApp groups oba ku Facebook groups ne groups zonna oba even over the internet ne ku social media platforms zonna. Osobola okusaayo endowooza zo, ki ky'olowooza ku bino bye tugenda okwogera bye twogeddeko mu vidiyo eno. Osobola mwana okubiteeka mu comment section ebirowoozo byo kasita bibeera nga ate tebirinnyirira ddembe ly'abalala kutyoboola, kuvuma na kuwemula, bijja kubeera nga bikirizibwa mu comment section bulungi nnyo. Nabwe kityo kale katutandike ey'olwaleero, naye ey'olwaleero programs okuva ddala omwezi guno ogw'omukaaga tugenda kubeera nga tuzikola mu nnimi bbiri, Oluganda n'Oluzungu, zi podcast bwe ziti, tuleme kubeera nga tulekeera ddala omuntu yenna emabega. Nkitegeera bulungi nnyo bantu bangi nnyo abagobera omukutu guno ogwa Uganda Eyenkya, abategeera Oluganda n'abatalutegeera. Kaakati sinza bajjako omusango gwammwe gwa kumanya na kutegeera bigenda mu maaso mu ggwanga Uganda n'ebyo ebyogerwa, n'olw'ensonga eyo byonna bigenda kubeera nga biweerezebwa mu nnimi bbiri, Oluzungu oba Olungereza ssaako n'olulimi lwaffe olwa wano Olunnansi, Oluganda ffenna lwe tusinga okutegeera, abo oba abangi lwe basinga okutegeera. Naye ate okugenda maaso okubeera nga n'abalala bagoberera ensonga ate era bazimanya bazitegeera, nalabye bangi mwatandise okusiima empeereza eyo ey'okubeera nga programu emu ebeera mu version bbiri, omuntu ategeere lumu era amanye biki bye tubadde twogerako. And that is why at this time like this, I would love to welcome you folks on yet again this another critical episode of Wamala Speaks. Wamala Speaks are episodes of perspectives, opinions and ideas presented by I myself, Moses Wamala, and the entire team I manage this broad channel with. So during this show, I shine a light, I give opinions, thoughts, and I give analysis and even updates and news in regards to what is happening in Uganda, the African continent, and everywhere as long as it makes news. So in these podcasts, we shall be, doing two languages. For those who understand the local dialect, we shall be able to understand what I will be saying in this or in all the podcasts, plus those who do not even understand Luganda or the local dialect will be able as well to understand what would be said in these, of course, in this podcast. So, welcome to Uganda Eyenkya, your trusted platform for deep, unfiltered, and constructive analysis of the social, political, and economic realities shaping our country. Now, today we are diving into one of the most painful, controversial, and deeply complex crises unfolding right before our eyes: the mass wetland evictions and demolitions executed by the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA. Now, this very week, as I've just told you, a gut-wrenching video went viral across Ugandan social media space, tearing through the hearts of millions. Of course, if you have been online and following events on social media and clips or content being shared by citizens using social media, you have likely seen a video of a chaotic scene along Kampala's busy northern bypass, surrounded by the heavy machinery of NEMA graders and joint security forces, including police and the UPDF. Now, in the middle of the lowering traffic, a completely distraught mother, having just watched her her lifelong savings and her small business flattened into rubble, runs blindly into the middle of the road. Her eyes are filled with absolute hopelessness. Now she attempts to throw herself in front of a speeding vehicle or a car to end her life. Suddenly, or fortunately even, her young son, a boy no older than 12, springs forward with a sheer desperate strength, crying and screaming. He wraps his arms like around his mother's waist, dragging her backward onto the pavement just seconds before the vehicle barrels passed by. Now, he just didn't save her life, he became an overnight symbol of the extreme psychological and emotional trauma breaking Ugandan families today. Now, this mother is not alone, of course. Thousands of people, of course, like what we know, all of us, thousands of people are trapped in this immediate crisis. They are asking basic questions. Where do we go tonight? How do I feed my children? How do I pay back the loans I took to build this kiosk or home? Now, when a person's livelihood is stripped away with zero fallback options, it triggers a devastating domino effect. We have so many single mothers being pushed into extreme vulnerability. Children are permanently yanked out of schools, and a silent mental health crisis takes root. And this has, of course, been shaping the discourse for so many years. Now, the future for these evicted families looks entirely dark. Most are sleeping in makeshift plastic tents on the margins of the city or the outskirts of Kampala city, or even retreating into deeper, more desperate poverty in rural areas or rural districts. Now, folks, to understand how we've arrived at this flashpoint, we have to trace the timeline of these state-led demolitions. This is not just a sudden policy shift. It is a long, grinding cycle of institutional enforcement that has left thousands homeless over the past 5 years or even so. Now, let's look at the seeds of this crackdown. Now, I will, of course, roll on the tape and rewind the tape in 2021-2022 following the parliamentary investigations into rapid ecosystem loss. Now, NEMA issued initial structural warnings. However, localized corruption allows local councils to keep selling plots of land, meaning the influx of formal or informal settlers continues unabated under the quiet watch of the state. Now, in 2024, the first mass eviction wave is seen. Acting directly on a high-level presidential directive, NEMA launched aggressive operations in the massive Lubigi Wetland system, focusing heavily on Busega and Nansana, we all remember, and hundreds of houses, local clinics, and small markets were completely flattened, displacing thousands of urban poor without compensation. Now, in 2025, we saw, of course, the metropolitan expansion and scrutiny. Evictions expanded further into the Kampala metropolitan area. Now, the public outcries intensified as citizens asked why the state waited for entire communities to build the permanent brick structures before deciding to intervene. Now, the present crisis we are facing today, the May-June, or which has just resumed, on May 28th, 2026, a massive joint operation by the UPDF, or the Uganda People's Defense Forces, and the police seals of the northern bypass, bringing, of course, traffic to a standstill to raise 58 permanent structures across 25 acres in Kawala. Concurrently, NEMA issues a fresh 21-day ultimatum targeting over 100 properties in Kajjansi and Wetland. Now, speaking about Kajjansi, of recent, actually, in the previous year, yes, now there was a social media use, actually, citizen took to her ex and, of course, shared this clip. I'm going to share with you. And we are still about Kajjansi. I think actually this was 2024. I remember like one of the people I follow on social media, of course, blowing the whistle about the apartments, the lavish apartments, which were being erected in Kajjansi around there, in those wetlands. That's it. This is 2024. But during the crackdown, the recent crackdown that started last month, of course, so many citizens have been complaining about the unequal distribution or unequal application of the law. There were like these demolitions, these, of course, these evictions are targeting the common person, the poor, and not targeting the rich. For instance, we all know how many hotels, how many residences have been constructed in wetlands. You know, I know. And there are so many factories, so many companies being, like their buildings, their offices being erected or constructed in wetlands. We all know. And now, this was 2024, a citizen, a social media user, shared this on her ex. She even went ahead to tag NEMA. Not once, not twice. She ran that campaign for over months, a period of months, and NEMA paid a deaf ear. So now the recent crackdown, of course, when the citizens via social media united and against the unequal application of the law, then NEMA played it cool and was like, okay, I think this time around enough is enough of the shame. And they decided to issue a 21-day ultimatum to all those who are erecting or even doing construction in Kajjansi. But remember, these images were, of course, shared in 2024. And by then, NEMA decided to play or to pay a deaf ear. Reason being, we all know the corruption stemming right in, of course, the public institutions. Could there be corruption scandals surrounding NEMA or emanating from such scenarios that those who have money can encroach on wetlands, those who do not have are evicted? You understand? So I think this time around, the pressure and the unity of the citizens to say, yes, it's good to protect the environment. And no one is, of course, saying that the environment shouldn't be protected. We are all saying that, yes, environment must be protected. Actually, it should. But the right word, the keyword is environment must be protected. But equally, that the rich shouldn't encroach on a wetland while the poor is evicted. That's an equal application of the law. So the citizens of recent, in the just ongoing crackdown or eviction, which is of course underway, the citizens were like, no, if we've been sharing these images, these videos of apartments being constructed in wetlands, how about them? How about those investors, in quotes, those people, the purported investors who go ahead to construct heavy buildings in wetlands? You've paid a deaf ear. So now this confirms that, yes, when citizens unite, they iron out their voices with confidence, with consistency, with determination. At the end of the day, the system is going to react. They are going to, of course, go right ahead. And they are going to be able to react and do the right thing. Gone are the days when citizens used to, of course, fear and actually fear to speak about things concerning, of course, their country. So now this video you see right here, it's part of the videos which have been shared in recent years. This was in 2024, and one of the people I follow on social media Of course, she shared this clip right here that you see of actually construction on being actually, and even the this developments. Yeah, these images, these clips have been shared in recent times, and this forms part of course, the debate that's ongoing about the unequal distribution, the unequal application of the law. And part of the videos which have always, the netizens have always been treated to, they look like this. Now, I'll take you back to the recent demolitions whereby, of course, the NEMA, in conjunction with security agencies, are going right ahead to enforce, of course, the law in regards to environment protection. Now, let's talk about the law. On paper, Uganda actually has a robust legal framework. The National Environment Act of 2019 clearly outlines that all 8,613 wetlands in Uganda are officially gazetted and officially listed and protected as public ecosystems. Now, that act prohibits the building of permanent structures, dumping, or reclaiming of these areas because they serve a vital purpose: ecosystem buffering, filtering water, managing extreme stormwater, and preventing massive urban floods. But here is the million-dollar question we all ask. Why did government watch on as these people settled there for 10, 15, 20, or even so years? That's the million-dollar question. Where was government? Now, here this begs a question of negligence, accountability, and breakdown of institutions and systems. That when even the easiest, the simplest matters fail to be resorted, or problems fail to be resorted, or fail to be worked upon, it confirms a breakdown of a system that doesn't work. Maybe due to corruption, due to incompetency, due to nepotism, due to a lot of factors. Now, the state legally validated their presence every single day. Actually, first and foremost, the reality exposes deep institutional negligence, as I've just told you. Now, these citizens did not buy land in Lubigi or Kajjansi via paracute. No, they bought land through local area chairpersons, that is leadership. They paid land brokers. Government surveyors marked the plots. Umeme connected electric poles. National Water and Sewerage Corporation installed water meters. Now, the local municipalities collected property taxes. This confirms that government knew what was going ahead. They watched on. They knew everything, because there is no way how you can tell me that this land forms part of the 8,613 wetlands which are gazetted and officially listed and protected as a public ecosystem. And you go right ahead and tell me that in Lubigi and Kajjansi, people can go right ahead and buy land. They go to local LC chairpersons for validations and for consultants and for confirmation. They go right ahead and pay land brokers. They go right ahead and pay the government surveyors, and they mark even the plots. Now, even the body formally that was mandated, of course, to distribute electricity across the nation on the national grid, Umeme, goes ahead or went ahead to connect electric poles. Now, a government body entitled and mandated to supply water, distribute water across the nation, the National Water and Sewerage Corporation, goes ahead to install water meters in those wetlands. And the local municipal or municipality councils go right ahead even to collect property taxes. What is that? Now, the state legally validated their presence every single day by taking their money, only to return around decades later with military graders and treat them like foreign invaders. You understand? Yet years so many years, they have been even collecting taxes from these people. You understand? So what would a truly responsible government do? A responsible state protects both nature and its citizens. We all know leaders, including the president, or from the president, they swear, of course, an oath of allegiance and the oath of office. They all swear to protect the country and the citizens. In a civilized system, enforcement follows a humane process. Number one, the administrative accountability. First, arrest and prosecute the corrupt government officials and surveyors who illegally signed off on these land titles and building plans. Question is, yes, we all support the eviction, the demolitions, of which they all aim at protecting the environment, which is very okay. We all support that because it's the way to go, and we have to protect the environment and nature. Because without this, that's why we see the massive flooding of Kampala, capital city, the nation's capital. You understand? Due to the negligence and the encroachment on, of course, on nature, we are vandalizing nature intentionally. Actually, we can't say that we are educated and civilized. We go right ahead to, of course, pay a deaf ear or neglect as we encroach and demolish or even destroy nature. That's why we are facing some natural hazards, because we've accepted to be fools for so many years, doing the wrong year in and out, and even doing the wrong whereby even government goes right ahead to even support it negligently, intentionally, and even they collect taxes. So question is, who are those people who allowed to sign off on these land titles and building plans? You understand? They are relevant government bodies, all government bodies, even from, of course, the National Building Review Board. Where are they? We need to, of course, question them. We need to question the municipal councils. We need to question the surveyors. We need to question NEMA as well. Where were they? Because someone cannot construct an apartment in Kajjansi. This one here, this one you've just seen. This, no, like a person goes right ahead and to, of course, that one, they go right ahead. They are given a plan. Their plan is okayed. The surveyor comes, does all the necessity and everything. Yeah? When we have the National Builders or Building Review Board, you understand, the wetlands have been encroached on by so many people, including citizens and even foreigners. So there is no way you can tell me that you're demolishing and evicting without informing us of those people, or without arresting those people who were administratively responsible to, of course, not, or to deny, or not to do this illegality. You go right ahead. We need to know who signed off the documents, the land, who issued the land title. You understand? Who even went ahead to review and confirm the building plan? Who goes right ahead to even collect taxes in an area that is gazetted as a public place that is meant for protection, not for encroachment? Now, what would the responsible government do? The second point, the phased relocation. Now, if any responsible government provides designated social housing or resettlement land packages before starting demolitions. Yes, we've all seen the trade order being enforced of recent. Yes, we say We need order in the city. We need order in the country. But yes, there must be a phased plan. There must be plans. There must be plans followed, provided designated social housing or resettlement land packages. Have a plan that, yes, we have given you this ultimatum, but this is the plan for government. We've been collecting taxes. Our officials so and so in the lands ministry, this one, they made a mistake. They made a legality. But to, of course, to prove that, we've arrested all these officials. They have been charged and they have been sentenced to this and this. So, for that manner, the government did in error, erred in making these such decisions. So, we are going to provide land packages or resettlement packages and plans for you. Since you bought this land, the Ministry of Lands released a land title. Everything, yes, we've been collecting taxes, so we believe this is proper to give you a plan, to give you a settlement plan, a resettlement plan, or a land package before we start demolishing or evicting you. I think that will be proper. Now, 3, the financial protection. Now, any sensible or any civilized and responsible government should offer structural compensation or soft transition loans to innocent low-income buyers who were actively misled by government officials or the state-sponsored systems. Because if you even pull out taxes from these people, it means you recognize them, you know them, you account for them. So meaning, at the end of the day, you need to provide financial protection to them, and you offer structural compensation or even soft transition loans. Okay, let's say those loans without, how do we call them, interest rates. We're like, yes, this was done in error. This was a mistake. It shouldn't have happened. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't have done this. We shouldn't have done this. It was done in error. And we are human, that would be understood. But there must be a financial plan, a financial protection plan. Now, while poor single mothers are being chased into oncoming traffic at Lubigi, look at what is happening in Lwera Wetland along the Kampala-Masaka Highway. Lwera is a crucial ecological filter for Lake Victoria and River Katonga. For so many years, heavy industrial machinery and massive dredgers operated by foreign companies, specifically Chinese commercial syndicates like Zhong Industries Limited and Lukaya Sand Dealers, have been hollowed out. They are all mining sand on a massive industrial scale and converting thousands of acres into commercial rice fields. We see this. Now, the ecological damage in Lwera or to Lwera is so catastrophic that even the highway itself regularly floods and collapses. Yet, when 8 local Ugandan environmental activists marched peacefully to NEMA headquarters to petition against this destruction, they were not thanked. They were promptly arrested and jailed for a month on charges of causing a public nuisance. Can you imagine that the ecological damage that has been done to Lwera is so catastrophic that even sometimes the road users are regularly disturbed or perturbed by the floods and the collapse. Now, when the citizens rose up, when they united to save the environment, the activists, they are environmental activists, they peacefully marched to the offices or to the headquarters of NEMA to petition against that destruction, against the impasse, against what was being done. They were not thanked. Instead, their payment, the way they thanked them, they were promptly arrested and jailed for a month on charges of causing a public nuisance. Now, similarly in Kajjansi and Munyonyo, luxury lakeside mansions and multi-story commercial buildings sit comfortably inside wetland boundaries. So many people have been sharing even the construction. They have been sharing these clips virally on TikTok, on X, formerly Twitter. They have been doing this. There are those who have actually managed to brave or to remain confident, to remain responsible citizens. They go right ahead and film these actions right from, of course, the foundation of the construction of these apartments or even factories. There are those who have braved the intimidation and, of course, filmed these actions. They share them. While NEMA has recently issued notices to some high-end properties due to immense public pressure on social media. Now, history shows that wealthy developers routinely use injunctions, high-level political connections, and corporate bribery to quiet down regulators. Now, the law in our country has become a spider web. It catches the small flies, but lets the big predators tear right through it. Now, under the government of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who has been in power for over 40 years and still counting, environmental degradation has been actively accommodated whenever it aligns with foreign investment, metrics, or even the financial interests of the ruling elite. If someone supports the NRM, can go right ahead and encroach on a wetland. If, let's say, a purported investor comes and says he has expertise in mining sand, they will go right ahead and be allowed to encroach on the wetland. They will go right ahead and mine sand, but Ugandans are stopped. They are banned. They are even arrested. They are even taken to jail over sand mining. This is an equal application of the law, that those who have some little money, who owe the wealth, they can literally break the law. The law doesn't catch up with them, but instead they break the law using money, bribing, and even, of course, influence peddling. So, going further, now understanding the comparative politics being played in our community as the East African region, I would love to go deeper and show you how Uganda compares regionally and globally. Now, of course, as per the research I've made, data shows a country in, of course, a steep environmental tailspin. Now, the deforestation rates, Uganda's total forest covers collapsed from 24% in 1990 to less than 10 or 12 today. We are losing roughly 50,000 hectares of forest every single year. Now, like as per to the Karibu magazine, of course. Now, the wetland depression. Historically, wetlands covered 15% of Uganda. Today, that number is significantly and sharply contracted toward 8% in highly urbanized areas, costing the economy billions annually in direct flood damage and water purification expenses. Because of recent, even government said that they will go right ahead to compensate traders whose merchandise and whose products were destroyed by the floods after allowing Ham Chigund or Hamis Chigund to go right ahead to construct buildings on a drainage channel, navigable channel. Now, let's see the regional comparisons within the East African community. I'm going to get there. But even today, Hamis Chigund is still constructing, still doing his stuff. As the flooding goes on, as people lose their lives, lose their property. Yet the same government, through the president, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, promised to, or even swore to, of course, protect the citizens, the nation, and even the property. But because Hamis Chigund supports the NRM, because he has some money, because he has the above in quotes, he has the connections to reach the president, he can literally do anything he wants. So President Museveni has no more authority. Even NEMA has no more. They have no more authority. If they cannot even stop and do whatsoever and even be upright when it comes to Miss Chigundo, because many people believe, yes, the flooding and other stuff have been literally caused by the massive destruction of nature, of wetlands, and even nature. Now, I'll bring you back to the regional comparison within the East African community. Now, I'll go to Rwanda. Well, Rwanda, when it comes to wetland and green zone management strategy, they are very, very strict. They have a strict urban reclamation. Wetlands converted into ecotourism parks, Igi Nyandungu Eco Park. Now, their enforcement style, it is proactive, it is structured and entirely uniform across all social classes. Across all classes. They don't have to know that you're an investor, you're a wealthier person, you have some money, you have some connections with the president. It's proactive, it is structured and entirely uniform across all social classes. There is no class society, or there are no class societies in Rwanda for who is allowed to encroach on the wetland, who is allowed to destroy the forest or to carry out deforestation. There is no such a thing in Rwanda and the laws. So now we have to compare and contrast, because comparative politics. So that's why I'm bringing in this. And let's go to Kenya. The wetland and green zone management strategy, it's aggressive, cleanups of the Nairobi River Basin and eviction of encroachers. Their enforcement style, highly publicized, though occasionally criticized for human rights lapses, but backed by clear institutional master plans. When it comes to Uganda, it is just the wetland and green zone management strategy is reactive, it's militarized, crackdowns on informal settlements, while granting licenses to industrial sand miners and even investors who can go right ahead and construct petrol stations, or even whatever companies and factories they want to construct over there. Our enforcement style as a country, it is deeply selective, unpredictable, and highly vulnerable to political influence. Those who support the ruling government, the National Resistance Movement, they are not bothered. They are okayed. They are doing the right thing. You understand? So it's not all round. It doesn't favor all social classes. It favors the rich, and of course the law catches all bans and of course hunts down those who do not, the poor. Now, as per the UN, of course, Sustainable Development Goals, of course, Uganda subscribes to the UN, and we are a signatory, and to the United Nations and the Sustainable Development Goals. Yet the current actions on the ground directly contradict these global commitments. Now, let's look at the SDG number 11, the Sustainable Cities and Communities, which requires governments to protect vulnerable urban populations and provide affordable, safe housing. Now, turning citizens into homeless IDPs, internally displaced persons, violates this core tenet. Now, we go to the Sustainable Development Goal number 13, climate action, and the Sustainable Development Goal number 15, life on land. Now, these all demand the urgent preservation of ecosystems to combat climate change. Now, by Uganda letting large-scale commercial miners destroy the natural water holding capacity of wetlands while punishing local small-scale users, the state is, of course, treating global SDGs as a mere paperwork to secure international development funding, like loans, rather than a true blueprint for national survival. And that confirms, or continues to confirm, that we are in a state or in a country that does not follow the law. We do not follow the law. We break each and every law we pass. So now I would love to take you now to, of course, I would love to give you these clips of the Executive Director of the National Environment Management Authority. Let's listen in and understand what he says about the recent demolitions and evictions of those who have consistently encroached on wetlands. Have a listen.
So right here, as you can see, we are going to issue restoration orders. They are here. So they are going to be issued. Criminal files have already been opened, and our investigators, as you can see them here, they are doing their job, and we want to encourage them to, without fear or favor, do a thorough job of investigation. And where we have credible evidence of breach of the law, prosecution must happen without any further delay. Of course, we shall not allow any further construction from now. That's why you see they have run away. We don't see anybody around. So our team will remain surveying this place. No further construction should take place. These orders confirm that you are not allowed to continue anything. And if you do, you are committing a subsequent offense now, different from the primary offense that you had already committed for encroachment. So right here, as you can see.
Now, this is Dr. Akankwasa. Yes, Dr. Akankwasa, who happens to be the executive director of NEMA. He says that they have issued a directive that those who have been doing construction, they should stop. Can you imagine? That they should stop. This is 2026. Images or clips, video clips were shared in 2024. You as the executive director did not react, did not even do anything. You just paid a deaf ear. So now in 2026, after conducting a massive eviction and demolition of buildings encroached or constructed on wetlands, after even citizens uniting to even bring back these clips, that's when you react. It's just reactive. And now you issue orders that you're not going to allow this. You're going to leave your team there. You're going to make sure that this is followed. Where have you been? Where have you been while these people are doing all this? Yet your mandate is to make sure that the environment is not degraded. But here comes you, the executive director, who was given this job to do this. Now you come in 2026. By now, he must have been fired. He must be out of office for negligence and incompetency and neglecting his duties. Because no person can go right ahead to construct those apartments you see in the background in Kajjansi wetlands. And NEMA does it, no? Where do they get, who reviews the plans and who okays the plans? The National Building Review Board. Where are they? All these people must be out of offices. They must be arrested and investigated for corruption. If we are fighting corruption, yes, we must even investigate the executive director of the NEMA, because you're mandated to protect the environment. You have the environment police. You have all the apparatus to go right ahead and protect the environment. You're given a budget, but you come and you start reacting in 2026 when these things have been happening. You deserve jail.
This lady here came to office and she disregarded pressure from the center was there. And they said we didn't, because I recorded the pump and the material and what they were bumping from me. I think it's there.
Now, this business of going around, wandering, loitering around to show that you're very busy, you're at work, you're busy. Yet these things have been happening for years, under your watch. People have reported these cases. You've paid a deaf ear. Others have been arrested. Their crime, reporting the wealth. Who even feed you? You understand? So you now come in 2026 with a show that you're doing your work. If I was the president, this guy must be behind bars by now. Where have you been? Why do you wait for all this? Like, why do you wait all this long to act? Why do you wait for the citizens or for the people to be reactive or to push you to the wall just to be reactive? So don't be surprised that this is just a show, and after a while Ugandans are treated to a diversionary and they forget about these structures and they're not demolished because the big fish invests big in these offices, and there are those who support even the NRM, and even the NRM is like, yeah, as long as they are supporting us, no problem. They can go right ahead and demolish and do whatever nonsense they feel like. But as a leader, as a president, by now, of course, the person, of course, that's the executive director of this body of NEMA must be in jail, and that's my word. He must be in jail. If you're investigating corruption, cases of corruption at Parliament, you must do the same thing to NEMA, asking them, where have you been? What have you been doing? You've been watching while all this mess is happening, and there is a law. So if at this point you're investigating Parliament, including Anita Among, go right ahead and even investigate even government parastatals, the MDAs, the ministries, departments and agencies for corruption. Because if even the executive director of NEMA comes out just today to prove to us that he's working, he's moving with the media, he's moving with camera guys, everywhere is guarded, that he's doing his job, yet the apartment was completed, because an apartment is not built in 1 month. No, it's not. You can't build an apartment in 1 week. No, you can't. Even in 1 month, it is impossible. In 1 month, an apartment on such a caliber, or the buildings we see being erected or constructed down there, they're not built in just a day or a week. And so many people have been reporting these cases. So now we have a president who will even go right ahead and let on or leave this guy to keep serving. Serving? He deserves jail, but, well, whatever the case, his name is Kankwasa. Who knows? So I think he has all... It's not something new we've been treated to, or we've normalized knowing, of course, the nepotism and tribalism shaping the discourse in Uganda. So he will walk stock free. He will be free while others are suffering under his watch. So that is Uganda for you. So of course, these are images, of course, which were as well
They came when people
shared by the Daily Monitor and on their X account. I'd love to give you this honorable, I think that is Honorable Seru Kenya, hailing from the National Unity Platform. He is the Member of Parliament for Makindi Sabagabo. I'd love to give you his voice before I come to a conclusion, before I conclude today's program.
They came when people are not prepared. We had a meeting here
on the last Friday of this week. It was chaired by the town clerk, Makinde Sabagabo, security boss, that's the RDC, then NEMA and National Water. And the meeting was at Sabala Primary School. And they told people they are coming back on the 19th to do demarcation of Lubigi Wetland. So people woke up in the morning and they went to work. They only called the chairman LO21 and the area police commander that we are coming to break.
Mulonda tusasudde tumusiimye nnyo tajjanga okwo yeebalire ddala yeebale tugoba we tukolera yeebale tugoba we tusula tusiimidde ddala
abannema baze musanga mmeka
tebalaze bagudde bubi bagamba 19 bazze leero tebalaze lunaku bagudde bubi naye ffe twebaza muzeeyi yeebalire ddala twamulonda atusasudde bulungi yeebalire ddala
babayanga kusinga mu ntobazi
twagulawo tebatulaba twagulawo nga tebatulaba ne subiru bamujja okuba naye ali mu Lutobazzi lwaki bajjawo bano abantu ba wansi lwaki bajjawo bantu ba wansi n'abasubiru babajjawo tumanye nti bataasa butonde lwaki bajjawo muntu wa wansi
n'abanguza baafadda n'omugenzi Ssemakula Mukodo we yafadda ne mu ttaka yaggwamu saawa ya jjujjo bakoze obugulo olaga nti tuli mu Lutobazzi kale mungu iko tulizawo abaana weno nzaliddewo abaana n'abalala bali buzi.
So, of course, these are some of the views, or those are some of the views I've been raising as well. Questions that these demolitions or evictions beg the question that where was NEMA? Where was the government? Of course, these people have been constructing or doing the construction. They have even their plans. Most of the people you see their plans are reviewed. Most of them. And even the local leadership, the local government, goes right ahead to watch on or follow on as events, of course, ensue. Now, these locals or citizens raise questions of where were they? They gave us the licenses, and now they come at this time and leave out other people like the Sudeus and others. This was a story shared by Daily Monitor, of course. So now we have to understand that, of course, the ongoing evictions continue to strain communities. In Lubigi, Lwera division, the just completed May 2026 sweep was hailed as the second major wave, following a similar campaign in May 2024 that flattened hundreds of homes and left thousands homeless. Now, the March 2025, of course, news noted that earlier in 2024, NEMA's joint task force, including police and army, as I've just told you, demolished houses and businesses across Kampala, Wakiso wetlands, which is causing, of course, a public outcry. Now, let's go to the opposition and what they say. I'm going to give you that as I wind up. Now, at each... of course, in 2019, government restoration orders were issued with 21-day ultimatum notices. Remember that. In areas in Lubigi, Wakiso, Lwera, and Waise. For example, NEMA reports orders in 2016, Nansa and Lubigi, and of course, in some parts of, is it Nabisasiro? Yes, so... At each stage, NEMA claims it followed the letter of the law. Under the 2019 National Environment Act, any person occupying a wetland without authorization can be issued a restoration order under Section 133 of the National Environment Act, giving 21 days to vacate or appeal. Failure to comply allows a forced eviction, with the violator liable for cleanup costs. Now, Section 55 of the same Act even makes wetlands encroachment a criminal offence punishable by up to 12 years jail or a 600 million fine. In practice, officials say orders were served years in advance, and evictees simply ignored these orders. Now, the NEMA executive director, you've just seen him, lists warning letters dating back from 2016 in Nansana, 2018 Nabweru, 2022 in Busega, etc. He argues that the state cannot reward illegality by law. Encroachers should compensate the government for restoration costs. But government has been collecting taxes. They have been giving land titles to these people. And yet affected residents and advocates, they point out to legal protections as well. Uganda's Constitution, Article 237, and the Land Act, Cap 227, declare that natural resources, including wetlands, are held in trust for the people. Now, paradoxically, the Land Act also recognizes bona fide occupants, those who have been or who have occupied land unchallenged for 12 years or more qualify for compensation if evicted. Now, NEMA critics note that many Lubigi families lived there for decades. Some had titles or land agreements and had been collecting rent for years. Under Uganda's Land Act and Limitations Act, anyone on a property for over 12 years must be compensated on eviction. Yet NEMA insists it cannot pay people who built illegally, and instead says the evicted encroachers are supposed to compensate government for the cost of restoration. This tension between the right to hold and the duty to protect is at the heart of a dispute. Now let's look at the humanitarian concerns. Now many argue the evictions have been inhuman. Now human rights bodies and defenders cite both Ugandan law and the international norms. Eviction should be a last resort, with alternatives explored and adequate notice and compensation provided. Yet, residents of course report bulldozers arriving without warning. We've seen some families saying they were not given official eviction notices at all. Of recent, Kampala's Lord Mayor, of course, Erias Lukwago, the former Lord Mayor, plus other lawmakers have always demanded a moratorium until compensation and relocation plans are in place. They have been always saying that they want or pointing out that Uganda already has a land fund, a pool for land redistribution and a land acquisition process for public use, which could, in theory, finance resettlement and best compensation. Now, the opposition cause have concluded or suspended evictions for a year, survey and demarcate wetlands clearly, compensate legitimate long-term settlers, and resettle families to new housing facilities. Now, for example, the Forum for Democratic Change urges the government to use the land fund for displaced families and to pause demolitions until wetlands boundaries are gazetted and mapped. So, we all ask what happens to the evicted people. That means that many people must return to slums or find shelter with relatives. Some head to already crowded camps in Kampala's outskirts, as we've already seen, or even go back to villages. Without land titles, they have little recourse. Aid agencies warn of a deepening urban poverty crisis without food, clean water, or toilets, or even evictees risk disease and what we can call deprivation. Yes, deprivation. Their children have dropped out of school and a lot has happened. So, something must be done. And it must follow the criteria, of course, because the government has been negligent. They have neglected. The government has neglected their duties to protect the citizens and even the country. So, by now, many would be in jail over these matters, over these issues. But so sad, they will still live, they will still be paid salaries, of course, from the consolidated fund and paid by taxpayers. They are going to keep getting taxes, huge payments, and life will go on as usual. My name is Moses Wamala. Mu bufunzo obw'ekitalo kyetwogeddeko mu programu eno kwe kulaba nga ebintu ebize bikolebwa amateeka okubeera nga tegagobererwa ekitongole oba ne gavumenti bannansi bo bagenda maaso okuggyibwa okukakibwa n'okuva mu ntobazi oba n'ebyo ebitundu ebitakkirizibwa mu bantu. Tukimanyi nti mu ggwanga lya Uganda tulina ettaka erisoba mu acres 8 eka ezisoba mu 8 nga zonna za ntobazi oba ettaka eryo eriri mu kyetuyinza oyita mu ntobazi acres 8 mu yes, wetlands oba entobazi 8 si eka naye entobazi 8 mu 613. So ebintu bino ebisinga abantu bazzeewo nga gavumenti eraba. Gavumenti erina ebitongole, kakati erina ministry ya water and environment, erina ekitongole ekya NEMA, erina ministry y'obutonde, yes, ne ba minister ne ba state minister. Bonna mwebali baweereza basasulwa omusolo, basasulwa omusaala. Naye abantu bano genda maaso abantu okubeera nga bazimba bakola byonna ne bagibwako n'omusolo, n'abamu ne baweebwa n'ebyapa abalala ne baweebwa ne bagibwako n'omusolo ne baweebwa n'olukusa okuzimba. Bino byonna bikolebwa gavumenti. Kaakati olwaleero tulina ekizibu ekyabagwira ng'Abachina abajja okusima omusenyu ne basima omusenyu ne waweebwa ne license esima omusenyu naye nga munnansi takkirizibwa kusima musenyu, nga alagibwa nti ekyo kimenya mateeka, ali mu lutobazi. Kaakati obutabeerawo bwenkanya bwa kubeera ng'etteeka likola ku buli muntu nga teryesigamye nti oba mugagga oba mwavu, kigenze mu maaso okubeera nga ate kidibaga eggwanga Uganda n'embeera y'obudde saako n'environment oba embeera y'eggwanga Uganda. Kaakati olwaleero ekitongole NEMA kyavudde ne kiga nti kiwadde kifulumiza ennaku 21 nga abazimba mu Kajjansi mu Lutobazi Kajjansi n'abo bazimba mu bitundu ebiriraanyeewo okubeera nga ebizimbe bimenyeddwa. Naye jjukira ebizimbe bino bigenda okuteekebwawo nga bagenze mu kitongole ekya gavumenti ekiwa abantu license okuzimba ekya National Building Review Board. Nti ekitongole ekyo kiwa omuntu olukusa okugenda maaso okuzimba, okwekenneenya plan n'okola kutya ogenda maaso okubeera nga mwanattu omuntu bamu olukusa okuzimba. Byonna bibaddewo era bizenga bikolebwa. Naye kakati omuntu bw'avaayo n'aga nti mu 2026 ekintu ekyaliwo obutabi buno obumu bazze babusharinga n'abantu bazze babugabana ku mikutu emigatta abantu okuva ddala mwaka gwa 2024 obwoleka Amayumba n'eza apartment ezizimbibwa mu Lutobazi oba mu ntobazi ez'enjawulo. Akatambi kano ak'omwana ng'asika maama we tikagenze maaso okubeera nga kasaasaanira emikutu emigatta abantu ejja social media. Akatambi kano kayolese obuvumu bw'omwana agenda maaso okubeera nga atayagala maama we yejje mu bulamu bw'ensi. Oluvannyuma lw'ekitongole ekya NEMA oba ekirwanirira ekirina okubeera nga kitaasa obutonde kyavuddeyo okubeera nga kimenya ennyumba zaabwe n'okubajja we baabadde ekawaala eyo. Kaakati omwana oyo maama we yabadde asazeewo yeesuule mu mmotoka afe. Wabula omwana oyo omulenzi oyo yagenze maaso n'akola ekitakoleka ku myaka gye okulemesa maama we oba okumugaana n'okumusika mu kkubo aleme kubeera nga yetta. kwegamba bifaananyi ebyo byalese bangi nga bennyamidde n'okutya n'okubuuza ki ekiddako. Naye ng'ate mu nteekateeka ya gavumenti ennungi yandibadde abantu bano ebateekeddeteekedde nawa we bagenda okudda, olw'ensonga nti ekisookera ddala babaddewo nga gavumenti eraba. Abamu babadde basasula omusolo, abamu ne okuzimba zi pulaani zaabwe zaakakasibwa ekitongole kya gavumenti, ate n'ebirala bazze basoloozebwamu omusolo ng'ogw'Amayumba n'ebirala. Ekitegeeza gavumenti ezzenga ebamanyi. Kuba tosobola solooza musolo mu muntu gw'otamanyi, tekisoboka. Oteekeddwa okuba ng'olina record ze na buli kimu. Kaakati ebikolwa nga bino kirungi okubeera nga obutonde butaasiwe era tewali akigaana. Naye tulina abagagga nga baba Sudil Ruparelia, bo abalina ebizimbe n'abakola byonna bye baagala mu ntobazi, obutonde ne bwonooneka. Hamis Kiggundu olwaleero ali mu kuzimba ku mwala ogw'ennakivubo. Ekyo no kyakkirizibwa pulezidenti, yagenda maaso n'akikkiriza, yadde nga ab'ekitongole ekirwanyisa oba ekikuuma obutonde ekya NEMA bagenda maaso ne bakakasa nti bo tebawanga ku Hamis Kiggundu lukusa kugenda maaso kuzimba ku mwala. Ekikwoleka nti olwaleero ne pulezidenti abatalina moral authority kwogera ku okutyoboola oba okulinnyirira obutonde. Olw'ensonga bw'abeera nga agenze maaso okubeera nga awa n'olukusa abantu abamu okubeera nga bakola ebintu ebimenya amateeka, ekitegeeza pulezidenti ali mu ofiisi y'eggwanga enkulu mwamenyera amateeka, mwaweera abantu olukusa okuzimba n'okukola byonna ebityoboola obutonde. Kaakati okubeera ng'oleka Sudil, okubeera ng'oleka Hamis Kiggundu n'abalala abalinamu ensimbi, gamba nga bannansi abava ebweru abayitibwa ba investor, ne bajja maaso ne batyoboola obutonde obw'emunda mu ggwanga Uganda. Olwaleero n'etteeka eryakoleddwa erya Protection of the Sovereignty Bill eryafuuse etteeka libeera kati libakwata. Ne bwe tubeera nga tugenda maaso nga tukifudde kya bulijjo nti ye Hamis Kiggundu asobola okukola ky'ayagala olw'okuba alinamu ssente, awagira NRM, alina of course connections, president mukwano gwe muntu we, State House wayagalira waagendera, naye nga abaavu babonaabona nga ensimbi mpitirivu nnyo eziyinza okubeera nga ziteekebwa ezoonoonebwa naye nga tesobola okuteekerateekera abantu baneeno nti wano muveewo mwajjawo mu bukyamu. Naye n'olw'ensonga nti waliwo abakozi ba gavumenti abaakola ensobi abatakangavuddwa, abantu bano bw'obagoba nga bali tobakangavudde ng'ate tobateekeddeteekedde nawa we balaga, oba kuba balaga nteekateeka nnambulukufu gy'olina okubeera ng'ogenda okubeera ng'obataasa obayamba oba okuba okyusa obulamu bwabwe, kitegeeza oba gavumenti atalina buvunaanyizibwa. Olw'ensonga abantu bazimbye olaba, obawadde pulaani ng'olaba, n'abakozi ba gavumenti ne bajja ne bakola ebintu okunoonyereza n'okukola kutya n'okukola review ne mubaleka. N'ekitongole ekivunaanyizibwa mu kutaasa obutonde ne kibeerawo ebbanga lyonna nga tekirina kye bikoze ate nga kirina obukulembeze. Kino kyonna kyonna kyoleka nti ddala kituufa ebintu okubeera nga byonna bifa, eggwanga lifa, institutions zifa, ebitongole bifu, ate era byonna byonna biwuliriza omuntu omu yabikutte, ye president. Kyongera okunnyika okulaga nti eggwanga liri mu katyabaga era liri mu kaseera akazibu ennyo akeetaaga n'okwetaaga operation oba surgery oba okulongoosa, nti bwe tubeera nga tugenda kubeera nga tutunuulira kutereeza ggwanga Uganda, bwe guba mutima twetaaga gwonna tusooke tugwekebejje gwonna, kuba guyinza okubeera nga ekintu kyasamba ekiwundu kyasamba ngedda ekiwundu kigazi. So kaakati yembeera egenda maaso munda mu ggwanga Uganda, naye nga abagwira bakkirizibwa okusima omusenyu, bakkirizibwa okukola byonna bye basobola era ne bye baagala, kasita babeera ne ssente basobola bikola byonna mu ntobazi. Kaakati zino famire bano bonna bwe bati ebibuuzo biri nti bagenda kuddawa, kuba yes yo gavumenti erina okutaasa obutonde ate era n'obutonde butuyamba, naye abantu bano wawe badda gavumenti erina pulaani ki? Bibuuzo bikulu nnyo. Atakumira mpeera abankumi, nze Moses Wamala. So okuteekawo ebirowoozo byo mu comment section, kikyolowooza ku bintu ku mbeera eno n'ebigenda mu maaso, what your thoughts are. Comments ezo zijja kubeera nga zituyamba. Kale atakuumira mpeera abatukuumire, tujja kubeera nga tuddamu ate okukwatagana nate nawe ekite mu programu endala gye tugenda okutunuulirako ku byagenze maaso mu cabinet n'okutunuulira nga bwe byabadde, abakkiriziddwa n'eyagaaniddwa n'ebirala. Kale akuuma atakuumira mpeera, mbajjukiza n'olunaku olwokuna tujja kubeera n'okwogerako omukulembeze State of the Nation, era tulabe biki byagenda okubeera nga asinziirako okubeera nga abantu mubigoberera nga mubifuna. Akuume.
Uganda Eyenkya.